We probably have to stop streaming and restart, maybe.
No.
Okay.
Start streaming. This is a new one.
But it was already clicked. But we'll see if it starts. I'll go ahead and play my move while you're checking that out.
Okay, I think you're live.
Greetings, chess players. My name is Chris Torres. This is Daily Chess Musings. I am live today playing a training game with one of my students who is preparing for the U.S. Junior Congress. Pay no attention to his rating. He's using an anonymous handle. He is a top player who has a chance at winning a national title this weekend. So we're practicing some longer format games. I set the increment delay wrong. I just added the second, unfortunately. It was supposed to be a G75 with a 5-second delay, and I just put 5 seconds. So it was 75 minutes with 5 seconds. And then we had a little bit of a problem with the beginning of our broadcast, but now we are live. And let me show you what's happened so far in the game. E4, E5, knight F3, knight F6, Petrov's defense, knight takes E5, D6, knight F3, knight takes E4, classical Petrov, bishop D3, bishop D6. He plays the early C4, and I am going to support my center pawn with C6. I'm a little lower on time than him, but I'm not freaking out. I had a little bit of a problem with the beginning of the broadcast. But we have a lot of time in this game. A lot of time. Also, I cannot see what you are saying. If you're saying anything in YouTube right now, I do not have that window open. But maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. I don't know yet. Check out dailychessmusings.com. You can find out a lot more about me. I'm a correspondence chess master. I'm one of California's most famous chess coaches. The U.S. Junior Congress is occurring this weekend in Northern California, and I have a couple students who are playing in this prestigious event, and I want them to do well. So. You know, a lot of times I don't just sit down and use like a whole session to play a game with a student, but when it comes to getting them into the right rhythm for playing a long format game, then it's important. It's important for me to practice. I'm trying to remember my Petrov Defense theory right now. This is very, very mainline. I haven't been playing the Petrov too much lately, is black, but I thought it might be something that my student could see. So I just have to look at my checks, captures, and threats very carefully and remind myself of the theory by using the checks, captures, threats method. So I'm looking at the possibility of the knight takes c3 right now. But I think I seem to I remember something where I support my knight on e4, and then maybe it was with bishop f5. It probably was. And then I play the dx c4, costing a extra tempo. but I'm also looking at like the knight takes c3. So these are the two that I am looking at right now, the two ideas. I've actually had more experience playing the Petrov in reverse lately, reverse colors, because I transpose out of my what am I saying? The 1a3, and then my opponent plays e4, and then, well, they play e5, and then I play e4 and play Petrov reverse colors. So I think both moves are okay. I think both moves are okay here. I'm going to go with bishop f5. It develops a piece. Now this is not defended. And chess.com is telling me this is the Petrov Defense classical attack Marshall variation, no doubt named after Frank Marshall, a very aggressive chess player. And it looks like we're both going to have the IQP, the isolated queen's pawn. And let's see. I know I've been here before. Maybe this is why I was supposed to play knight takes c3 first, actually. So I think potentially I made a little mistake, but I think I have queen a5 check, which forces... so I'm looking at the queen a5 check. Let's see. Trying to remember my theory here. You know, queen a5 check looks really good, but I need to run through my checks, captures, and threats. So that indeed is a check. And then when I say checks, captures, and threats, my opponent cannot check back. So this is the first move that I'm looking at. If I go there, I'm checking the king and threatening the knight on d5. The knight could go back to c3. And then I could take this knight on c3, but then I'm leaving this hanging. Let's go ahead and try queen a5 check. No wonder Marshall likes this. No wonder Marshall likes this. I'm tempted to play, develop another piece even. Maybe knight c6 I'm looking at. I could leave this tension right here. It's kind of exciting. There's nothing defending my bishop on f5. His knight on c3 is pinned. This is kind of exciting. This is very sharp. So who says that the Petrov needs to be like a dual opening? I think we're seeing a lot of tactical possibilities here. So I'm just going to take my time and think about knight c6. So far, I think maybe my opponent's rate of play has been a little too fast. Unless he knows all of this by heart, I think he's probably just been playing a little too fast. You get used to these G30 rapids or 15 and 10 rapids or even 5-minute blitz. And then you go to the U.S. Junior Congress and you have 75 minutes and you don't know how to use that time properly. I really like the looks of knight c6 here. I really, really like the looks of it. This looks terribly exciting. Terribly exciting. Because I'm leaving the danger in the middle of the board in the center. I'm keeping the pin, not, in a hurry to trade off pieces. The center's open. There's only one center pawn left, right? d4. The other 3 pawns have gone away, and neither of us have castled. I'm going to play knight c6. So I hope everybody's having a wonderful New Year's so far. It is now 2025. Hard to believe. Hard to believe that we've um, come this far. Yeah. Seems like not too long ago it was the 2020 and the lockdowns, and that's really when I bumped Daily Chess Musings up because there was a need. All right, so he's relieving some of the complexity in the center, trading a bishop for a knight. Let me go back. Yep, trading the bishop for the knight. So when I take back, he will not have the bishop pair. But before I take back, I'm just examining the possibilities. Again, I think my student is playing too fast. We'll find out. But I think he's playing a little too fast. He's going to need to adjust that before this weekend. I have a nice coconut flavored bubble water. I also have some coffee. Another thing you can do, I talk about breathe, think, win. Take a breath, or drink, think, win. Take a sip of something. But, don't respond right away. You don't want to react. You want to respond slowly and thoughtfully. So when I take, his knight cannot take back until he is castled. He could pin my bishop, but I'm not too concerned about that. Maybe I should be, but this looks fine. I've taken some time. I'm even going to take a little longer. I'm just going to kind of enjoy talking to nobody because, like I said, I can't see the chat on YouTube. But just to take some time. My name is Chris Torres. This is Daily Chess Musings. I'm live right now, playing chess against one of my students in an important training game. An important training game to help this student get better rate of play, better clock management. And I go ahead and take. I know we just saw like a lot of very exciting chess in New York at the World Blitz Championship, but that's exciting, and don't get me wrong, I like Blitz too, but chess, I think we learn the most from the game of chess when we play slow, thoughtful games. That's when we can learn the most about both chess and handling difficult situations in life. All right, so he does play this pin. So there's a couple ways I can support my bishop. And I could also potentially just let him take it and then pin his queen to his king, right? So he cannot take with the knight on c3. He could take like this. That's check. But let's say if I castle right now, if I were to castle, and then he still can't take with the knight. If he takes with the queen, then I could bring my rook and pin his queen to the king. He could throw something in the way. It gets very, very exciting. I think I'm going to go this route. But let me just analyze all the checks, captures, and threats. I need to set a good example. See, I almost played a little too fast there, right? I need to examine the checks, captures, and threats. But my idea here is to castle. Let him have the bishop. And then play rook a to e8. And then if he plays knight e5 to defend his queen, looks like I got some fun stuff there. Looking at all my checks, captures, and threats. Whoops, dropping my fidget pen. Let me check my screens real fast in the OBS. Okay, yeah, we're still both here. That's important. I'm gonna go ahead and do it. And you know, I took a fair amount of time here because if I calculate wrong, this costs me a piece. I'm gonna lose the game, right? So that is a time where if you're having a hard time with the calculation, you could even use like 20 minutes of time thinking if you need to, but you don't want to be you don't want to be a piece down in a chess game from a miscalculation because then you're just going to lose. And when you're playing longer format time controls, use as much time as you need to think about those moves. Those are the most important, the kind of high risk moves. My name is Chris Torres. This is Daily Chess Musings. I'm playing a training game with one of my students, getting my student ready for the U.S. Junior Congress happening this weekend. It's pretty groovy job I have getting to play chess with such talented kids so often, right? If you do a quick Google search of Chris Torres chess, you'll see. I've been doing this for many, many years. Maybe 27 years, in fact. And I've helped many students get really, really good at chess. A bunch of my students have won state champion titles. In Northern California, state champion is a hard title. I mean, we have a lot of talent here in Silicon Valley. A lot of very, very smart people have very smart kids and value chess. And so we have really competitive chess tournaments. A bunch of my students have won national championships. Many have become masters of various, titled players. Okay, so my student, I'm being very careful not to say his name because I don't want to give away who I'm training with before a major event. My student does not take the bishop. So I have the bishop pair. And I also, he's ahead by one pawn. But I could win it back. I'm looking at that right now. I mean, it's really easy for me to win this pawn back. Because the only thing defending his isolated pawn is his knight on f3. But I'm not sure I'm in, such a hurry to win it back. I like some attacking aspects of my position. I've got my bishops on adjacent diagonals pointed at his king side. My queen is on an open rank. My knight seems a little too far away from the action, though. I could potentially have a really strong king side attack if my knight was in this box, the quadrant of the king, but it's way over here. If I trade to win the pawn back, I no longer have the bishop pair for the endgame. If I trade to win the pawn back, I no longer have the bishop pair. Not only that, but if you look just a little deeper, then we potentially get into this, right? And he gets another pawn up. So as I look deeper at the position, and as I'm getting more relaxed in this chess game, I was a little hyper to start with because I had a little technical problems with my broadcast. And you have to try and leave these little problems off the chessboard and get into into what, you know, the task at hand, which is playing good chess. This is always the task at hand. So I'm actually really looking at rook a to e8 right now. But then, okay, so that's also a problem. This, hello, Chris. Then the bishop's attacked twice. His queen's attacking it. His knight's no longer pinned. So something I forgot for a moment. Remember my queen was pinning this knight? It's not pinned anymore. So I am going to need to do something with my bishop. And I think the bishop takes f3 is likely the best move. Because then I get a center pawn. And I'm getting my knight closer to the quadrant of the king. Yes. This is what we'll do. It was under attack. There goes my bishop pair. And again, I think my opponent's rate of play is too fast. Too fast. So far, he's playing a good game of chess, but odds are not in your favor if you're not being careful, if you're not using your time wisely. We saw Gukesh relax. He would close his eyes at the chessboard and breathe. We saw Ding. There was the whole meme, Ding chillin', right? He would go into the little break room and sit on the chair and close his eyes, eat some nuts. Ding chillin'. It was a very exciting World Championship match, but both players took their time. Ding a little, his time management was not good. Gukesh was very professional with his time management, and that was a huge factor in the deciding factor. Okay, I'm going to be leaving pieces willy-nilly all over the board if I take that center pawn right now. What I mean by leaving pieces willy-nilly all over the board. All right, if I do this, my knight's not defended, my bishop's not defended, my queen's not defended, right? Lots of undefended things. And I'm giving my opponent this. I have to be careful. When he's down there, you know, my queen could swing all the way across and be threatening checkmate. But he can push a pawn, stop said checkmate. Let me really look at my checks, captures, and threats again. And really just spend a lot of time focused. This is a critical position, and I want to set a good example of taking time when I need to. I don't want to mess this up. I want to play an accurate game. I'm, you know, hoping for 90-something% accuracy. In fact, for both my student and I, you know. To do that, you have to analyze all the checks, captures, and threats. And then go deep. So for example, you look at the checks, captures, and threats. The first move I actually look at is this. That's a check capture. It doesn't work, but it's the first move I look at. After I've looked at all my check captures, then I'm just looking at my captures, and those are pretty not so great. Well, I mean, this one's alright. The queen takes c3 is not so great. So I look at this, and then when I look at this, I noted that all three of my pieces are undefended, and I'm giving up that. And then I said, well, I could slide my queen over and have like a checkmate threat, but it's just not enough. It's just not enough. My opponent plays g6. Then my opponent has 2-on-1 in an endgame. So instead of this is kind of okay. Let's get back to the checks, captures, threats. So I looked at checks, I looked at captures, and now I start looking at threats. What do threats look like? Well, I can't threaten my opponent's queen in a useful way. I can threaten this pawn a second time. And that would be like queen b4. Then I'm threatening the pawn a second time. This bishop would also be glued to b2, otherwise they lose b2. And if they were to, you might say, what would happen if they scoot the pawn forward? My knight moves closer to my opponent's king while attacking the queen. All right, so I'm going to take even a few more minutes now. I like this threat, so my checks and my captures didn't work out. But I'm starting to really like this threat. Again, the one I'm reviewing in my mind is queen b4. The first move that I was dead set on, the one that I thought I was going to play, was this. And the more I looked at it, long term, it gets less appealing. But now I'm really getting excited about queen b4. You want to take your time, find a move that you can be happy with. You get one move per turn. It's important to make it a good one. Make it one that you're happy with. In a relatively equal position, you should be making moves that you're happy with. When you're when you're losing badly, it's hard to be happy. So you try and make confusing moves. You can ask yourself, how could I possibly win this game? And then play a little bit of hope chess. But this is a relatively equal position. I don't know what the evaluation bar is right now, but I'm thinking it's pretty equal. I'm thinking it's pretty equal. My opponent has one extra pawn, and that pawn is in the center, but it's isolated. And I have better development. I have compensation, so their one extra pawn is weak and can be targeted, and my rooks are already unified. Queen b4. Okay. I hope you're enjoying this little training game, and maybe getting a little bit of a peek inside how chess masters work when we're thinking. Nothing against like I thought the broadcasts were great, by the way, all of them during the World Championship. But oftentimes you have very strong players saying a lot of different variations very quickly, because they're very strong players. They spot them very quickly. But maybe you're not as talented as some of the commentators on Chess Base India, or some of the commentators on the FIDE, or some of the FIDE official broadcast was excellent as well. The Chess.com broadcast was good. I mean, and then but you still can play really good chess. You just have to train yourself to respond, not react. So the knight has moved forward, threatening my, I'm sorry, the pawn has moved forward, threatening my knight. And I had looked at this and said, well, because the pawn moved forward, it's no longer controlling e5. And when my knight goes to e5, it's moving closer to my opponent's king while threatening the queen. It's what my knight wanted to do. If you remember a little while ago, I said I had, you know, the starts of maybe a good attack, but my knight was too far away. Well, I want to get my knight closer. Closer. And I have two possibilities for that. This or this. Now, his knight on c3 is still guarding e2, so there's not too much extra benefit from going to e5. I'm sorry, d4. There's more benefits to going to e5. And my time is, you know, ticking down. Do I look particularly worried about time? No. I'm more concerned with making good moves. If I have a good advantage with less time on the clock, it's easy to play good moves when you have a strong advantage in the game. You can, if need be, blitz out a few good moves. It's easy if you have a strong advantage in the game. But you have to first get that advantage. You have to first use your time wisely. And here we go. Knight moves closer. My name is Chris Torres. This is Daily Chess Musings. I'm playing a training game with a student, getting a student ready for the U.S. Junior Congress this weekend in Northern California. The anonymous student that you are seeing me play is giving me a pretty good challenge right now, showing that maybe they are really ready to contend for a big title. Okay, so my opponent seems okay with a trade of queens because they are up a pawn after all. I don't really want to trade queens because I like where my queen is, first of all. It's keeping his bishop on c2, otherwise he loses b2. It's on an open rank. And I have a knight closer to this magic quadrant, right? It is now within checking distance, in fact. And I have a bishop lined up on h2. I would like to keep my queen. I would like to keep my queen going. I'm certain I could end up winning this pawn in an endgame. But that's, you know, I would like to keep the queen on the board. But then I lose some time. Let me look at my checks, captures, and threats again. So the only checks, captures, threats, the only check I have is the knight f3, which is not so great. That's easy to calculate. Although, you know, we have a follow-up check right after. So there's kapow, kapow. But, yeah, again, it's not leading to enough. I don't have enough support. My captures is simply the queen trade. But unfortunately his knight's moving now closer and threatening my bishop right off the bat. So I don't like that very much. So I don't want to trade queens. This is hard. This position's very hard. I mean, maybe I let him take. Maybe I let him take my queen, and instead I start getting my rook. Because then his knight, yeah, so if queen takes, my bishop comes out here, right? And then I have a rook in the open file too. I gotta use the restroom though, and it's not easy, you know, playing good chess when you're thinking about your bathroom needs. So in a longer time control tournament, if you gotta go to the bathroom, go to the bathroom. I'll be right back though. And I am back. And last you saw, I was trying to figure out how not to trade the queen. Well, first of all, I should say, I just don't like this move. I do not like it. The knight gets into a good position. It's attacking my bishop after the trade of queens. And this pawn is ready to start rolling because the knight's already defending the square in front of it. He can get a rook behind it. I don't like it. So I've looked at my checks. I've looked at my captures. And now I just need to find a good move. One that I've been pondering is putting something in the middle. It avoids the trade of queens. It's threatening b2 twice. And my opponent cannot kick it with, say, b3, because then they're just losing the knight, right? So now I need to look at that. I've put up some good content recently. You should check out dailychessmusings.com. I analyzed a couple games of the recent World Championship. I showed a game that's never before been published, a loss of mine against international master Emery Tate when he was still alive, and that was for his birthday. A few other really neat posts. So check out dailychessmusings.com when you get a chance. Again, if you're watching this video in the future, it is January 2nd, 2025. So this gives you, because I post a lot, if you want to see those posts, if you're seeing this maybe a year or two, you would have to go back in time to around that, end of end of 2024, and you'll see those 3 posts that I just talked about. My opponent has so much more time than me, and I get no time bonus. So I'm starting to feel like I'm the one mismanaging my time, but we shall see. I play knight c4. It avoids the trade of queens. I'm threatening b2 twice. And I'm giving my opponent, if he's playing too fast, if he's not really thinking things through, that's a terrible move, right? Boom. And then I'm winning the game. And now his queen that's in the center of the board can become a target for my rooks. My bishop's blockading his passed pawn, has a nice line of sight. I'm not thrilled that my knight moved this direction, because ideally I want to get it in here, but you know what? It was able to do what it needed to do right at the right time. If I was, a world championship caliber player, which I'm not, I would have seen this already in my head, right about here. I would have imagined this scenario. I was not that far ahead. I had to. This move surprised me. It's the first move of the game that surprised me. So good job to my student. And I had to come up with a solution. And also good job to my student who is now using his time to think. That's good. The tables might be turning soon. He's 1 pawn up. It's a weak pawn. Be interesting to see what my accuracy score is. First serious game of chess of the new year. So I'd like to have a good accuracy score. My name is Chris Torres. I'm a correspondence chess master. I'm also perhaps the most famous chess coach in California. I work with a lot of super talented players. I'm playing with one of these super talented players right now who's going to be competing in the U.S. Junior Congress. This is what I do. My students have a rich history of winning prestigious events. Part of what I do is get them ready for the time control that they'll be using. So the longer time control, the first time control that he's going to be using is the a standard 25 and 5, I believe, or 30 and 5, 30 minutes with a 5-second delay. And then later in the tournament, it switches to, because he's doing like a shorter schedule, it switches to the 75 and 5. And so we're practicing the 75. I just didn't put the 5 in right. I just added the 5 seconds rather than the 5-second increment or delay, and that's a bummer because I wanted to go with is good. You can customize things on chess.com, right? You can customize the time controls. It was just user error. Same with the start of the broadcast. You could have seen the whole game. Okay, so I can take b2. But then he may, in fact, be the one using a rook to pin the knight, right? So the b2 pawn could be poisoned. I cannot take with my queen, because queen takes b2, queen takes c4. So this is a pretty good move. But again, I think I leave this alone. I like to leave complexities on the board. I think I'm going to leave it alone. Right after I analyze my checks, captures, threats, I'm going to consider more heavily like putting a rook in the open file and attacking the queen. Yeah, putting the rook in the open file looks really good. Looks really good. It's like, go away, queen. And his queen's blocked by its own pawn, so it has to move. And when it moves, it's not giving good enough defense to many areas. So now, if I do this, I'm leaving this pawn exposed, though. So maybe I should play the other rook. My instinct is to use the rook that I haven't touched yet. I think this bishop's going to be leaving the board anyways. So if I play rook to rook a to e8, his queen moves. And then if my knight takes, that bishop's leaving the board. But again, I'm going to look through my checks, captures, threats. There's no time to be rushed. This is not time to be rushed. I could play knight takes b2. It just it worries me, the pinning of the knight to the queen. If he doesn't trade queens with me, it worries me. Let me look at my checks, captures, threats, and get into my focus. I'm making funny faces at the camera. Let me look at my checks, captures, and threats. And try and find something better that I like better than knight takes b2. Right now, that might be rook a to e8. Got 34 minutes. That's a lot of time. That's the shorter of the two time controls that this student will be using. So, I wanted to have more time than this at, say, move 18. But, yeah. I could get away with this. I've calculated it, but I really like this better. So And this is the rook I haven't moved. I could have also played rook f e8, but I've touched this rook. I want to touch all my pieces. Boy, this is a tough game. Hats off to my student for making me think. You are looking good for this tournament this weekend. He's not watching the video live because that would not be very good training for him, but he'll see it afterwards. And maybe afterwards I'll see some of the chat. I'll check out the video too and look at some of the chat. And then maybe if you're watching this video at some point, go check out dailychessmusings.com. You can find out more about me. And there's literally thousands of free lessons, chess lessons on dailychessmusings.com. Okay. And perhaps a mistake. Perhaps my student just made a mistake. This would be kind of the first, and he played it a little fast, because now this isn't pinned anymore. The knight's not pinned to the trade of queens, and I can take b2 and threaten his queen. So his pin to my knight doesn't help. Yeah, that's the move. Okay, so the rook AE, putting the rook in the open file makes the knight taking on b2. I get to combine two of the ideas, but it feels better to me. We are even material, and now he has two isolated pawns. So I have an advantage in pawn structure. I had an advantage in development, but now I have an advantage in pawn structure. And now he wants to trade queens with me. Again, he's playing really fast, right? Before I trade queens, I'm going to analyze my checks, captures, and threats. I could trade queens now and be okay because of the isolated pawns. Then I just have to blockade his pass pawn and add pressure to it, win a pawn, and then go with my 2 versus 1 in the endgame. Seems simple. But I got to analyze my checks, captures, threats. And there's two ways of trading queens anyways. There's just, straight up queen trade. But there's also b6, and then he takes, and then I go here, but then he could go there, pin, but then I could go here and defend, right? So there's two ways. And then there's just not trading queens. Then there's like queen a5, right? That's just not trading. But then he could play, let's see, he could play queen takes a7. And then I trade. I think I like b6 better. I think I do. I think I like pawn to b6 better. Okay. Queen a5 seemed, and you're noticing I'm starting to play a little faster now, right? When I see something I like, I double check it once and then play it. I don't keep searching at this point. Does he want to trade with me? I think I have a reasonable endgame. But it's still very even. And then we'll see in the analysis, but I want to believe that his queen d3 may have been a mistake. I want to believe the queen d3 was a mistake. It's the first move he's played that felt like a mistake. The first move he played that I thought was brilliant. Oh, well, I just got to take back. Okay. And he's playing really fast. He's got twice as much time as me. A little too fast for this tournament this weekend. He'll need to slow it down. Sometimes, you know, playing at an actual physical board, though, you're able to do that. It's like when you're playing on chess.com, you're so used to... That's an unusual move. I didn't expect that. Okay. What is he thinking? So his knight was on, he's moving his knight to safety. Backwards. I don't like my knight here with this bishop like that. I would like to bring my knight over here, get it closer to the action. Putting it here would double attack his bishop. And that, in fact, you know, forces some kind of response, right? If I go here, he doesn't want to lose another pawn. So he's probably going to put his bishop there. I don't want to have an isolated pawn, so I don't like putting my bishop here in most of these lines. I mean, I could start pushing here. I think I will. I gotta play a little faster. I'm gonna start advancing, and then if my knight gets under attack, it goes here, and then I can push this pawn up, right? Has supportive knight and rook. My name is Chris Torres. This is Daily Chess Musings. I'm getting a student ready for the U.S. Junior Congress by playing a longer time control game. Okay, so his knight is heading here. His knight is heading there. Uh-oh. I should not have let the knight get there. This was not a good decision on my part. My last move was not so great then. Because, you know, you don't want a knight in the 6th, right? Okay, so I made a mistake. This is definitely a mistake on my part, allowing his knight to get in there. Let me calm down and look at my checks, captures, and threats. I don't want his knight on an outpost in the 6th rank in the quadrant of my king. So I might need to rethink things and bring my knight here, threatening the bishop right away. But how am I going to stop his knight from going there? Let's look at my checks, captures, and threats. I hate to allow his knight to find a home on e6. I hate to let it find a home on e6. But I'm going to throw in the knight c4. It seems right. I had a different idea for this knight, right? My idea was to bring it here and then push the pawn forward. But I was thinking too much about me and not about him, right? And his bringing, let's go back. This is very nice student. Okay, and now he's threatening my bishop. And then right here, I think I want to play bishop d6. and threaten his knight. It's kind of where it wants to go anyways. Although I have a, you know what I notice is these two could possibly be forked now. They could possibly be forked. I might have a tactic. Let's really analyze our checks, captures, and threats. So what am I thinking about? These two can be forked. There's only one thing stopping it, which is his bishop, and I have potential to take that or threaten it. I was in a little bit of danger. I'm feeling a lot better about the position now. This may have been a mistake because these are forkable. I mean, I'm looking hard. I could even throw a rook away and then fork, but unfortunately my bishop's under attack, right? So maybe I have to put bishop here first. But then, I mean, it's almost there. It's almost there. It's almost there. But the fact that the bishop is under attack, I don't think I have time to like back it up and try the rook sacrifice. I could play knight takes e3, a pawn takes, rook takes, and that, whoops, that just wins a pawn, right? Oh no, but my bishop's still under attack, right? So I play knight takes, and then I'm threatening his rook. He's threatening my bishop. Okay. Then when he plays pawn takes, then that's gone, and I can put my bishop here, pinning the pawn to... Okay, yeah. This is how. Let me double check one more time, though. Because then I don't get the knight fork, right? And that's kind of a bummer. I was really hoping to do the knight fork, but hey, if I get rid of... Yeah, all right. Let's do it. Okay, knight takes e3. I got excited about the possibility of the knight fork, and it didn't work. But now I can do this. And I'm threatening this twice, and it's pinned to the king. My first serious game of 2025. And it is a doozy. This is entertainment. Entertainment value is high. Let's see if he uses some more time to think about this. I think he really should. I think he really should. If I win this, then again, it's isolated. All right, this again feels a little funny because yes, he's threatening my rook. I get that, but I could just take with check first and then move my rook to safety. I think this is the way. So if I do this, he's got to move his king because he doesn't want to block with the rook. And then I move my rook up. Yep. Checks, captures, threats. I am a pawn up now. First time in the game that I am up material. And now the question is where to, you know, where am I going to put this rook, right? Probably up 2 because we like the we like the rook elevator up 2. Potentially up 1, because then there's chances of sliding it over. Then I have to look at his checks, captures, and threats and be very sure that he doesn't have, some sack and a fork. Because his knight is hanging out in the quadrant of my king. I said I didn't want that. And why is he disconnecting? That's not good. Oh, man. I hope my student doesn't disconnect. Oh, good. He's back. That worried me. All right. So I have to... now I'm analyzing checks, captures, and threats more defensively, rather than looking for opportunity, because his knight's hanging out in the quadrant of my king. You might hear me say checks, captures, threats a lot. It is a system I believe in. It's a system I use to help my students achieve great things, and the whole system is explained on dailychessmusings.com. You can just search checks, captures, and threats. My bishop here is really impacting his knight's ability to do some stuff that scares me, and so that's good. That's good. I'm thinking that the rook f7 is probably the slightly better of the two, because rook f6 would be more offensive, and I don't have a queen on the board, so I'm not gonna I don't see that. It's between these two, right? It's close. It's a close call. But rook f7, my rook has more scope. If I go rook f7, it sees all the way across, right? Sees a lot more squares. The two rooks are on the same color, which means his knight could fork them, but my bishop's controlling the knight pretty well. All right, rook f7. 20 minutes left on my clock, 57 minutes left on his. Guy's playing fast. He's got me in a little bit of time trouble. He wants my bishop to move so that his knight can do stuff. And I kind of like my bishop being there, clogging up the file. Not to mention, if I move my bishop, then his knight can take it in a lot of squares, right? All 4 of these squares, his knight could fall back and take it. There's still some tactics. My first inclination is scooting the pawn forward, but I have to be very careful. I'm lucky that this rook could take back, because the bishop would then be pinned to the back rank, right? Because my rooks are not connected. If I scoot it forward, he could play g3 and kind of scoot back at it, right? This we know. Also, then my bishop loses scope to be able to like interfere with this pawn moving forward. I scoot it forward. A little low on time. I scoot it forward. It feels right to me. It feels right. I wanna secure this file, and then I want to scoot this rook over here and start threatening his isolated pawn. Okay. For sure, makes sense. And now I'm looking at nonsense too, by the way. There's like some cuckoo nonsense where, you know, I get my rook my pawn way up there. Can I do something with it? So I really need to analyze the checks, captures, threats, because I need to think very clearly, very far out. I had briefly considered the g5, then his knight takes. Yes. I'm looking at some very complicated ideas here. I don't even have to respond to it quite right away. I could slide the rook over here, right? Or I could like come back with my own threat, right? With the bishop to f2, threatening his rook. And then my pawn maybe can support my bishop momentarily. Let's check this out. I think that works. And as soon, but then, yeah, then his knight maybe comes back over g5. His knight has been a problem for me. It was very nice how he got it to the perfect square to be a long-term problem. Checks, captures, threats. Breathe, think, win. 2. Highlighting it. I like it. Yeah. Responding to a threat with a threat in kind. Down to 17 minutes. That's still a lot of time. And now, I believe my idea is just take. And he does not have a check to move this out of the way. So, and now this bishop is defended twice. I'm ahead, momentarily ahead 2 pawns, but I'm going to be a pawn ahead. And then I'm going to have my own passed pawns very soon, I think. I could move the bishop and just take this pawn, right? And then it's back in a perfect spot to interfere with all of this nonsense. Okay, so we go ahead. We go ahead and do this. His knight is pinned to his own rook. I am 2 pawns up in the endgame. Boy, he is something. He is something, but I got a rook defending, right? So this bishop wants to go to where it's safe and where it's active, and probably where it keeps this pawn from scooting forward. There's also potential here which stops the knight g5, but it has less scope. And this pawn is still a concern. There's also, further, moving further back where the bishop would actually be defended. But I really like the idea of putting it here. His knight is still pinned to the other rook. He is playing, fast. He's got an hour to think about this, and it feels like his advantage is slipping. And I mentioned like maybe an hour ago about the fact that if I'm low on time but have an easy game, easy one endgame, I'm happy. Yeah. This knight pinned to this rook is very dangerous for him because, aha, there it goes. All right, so he's adding a lot more pressure. A lot more pressure. I actually have some weird checkmate threats, but I don't have time to pull them off. If I had 2 moves in a row, I could just do this. And then he blocks, and then checkmate. But, you know, I don't have time to pull these things off right now. I think just G6 is the way to go. He's threatening me 3 times. I don't like this. You know, bishop f8 is another possibility. But these guys are passed pawns now. I have 2 passed pawns. And so to me it makes sense to start moving them forward. Forward march. Okay. This rook now would like to go here and there, right? Up and over. Especially when it goes up here, it's forking a very dangerous check with the isolated pawn. Okay, there it is. And now, do I just do that? Maybe. Maybe I do. Because I also have up one step further, right? Where I'm threatening the fun stuff again. But rook f5 feels right. Because I want to win this guy. If I win that guy, then he no longer has his outpost. I might even get to play h6 and then rook h5. I might even get to. If he leaves his knight there. No, I'm just going to play rook h5. That's the move. It just wins, right? Am I seeing this right? I mean, I just win. Right? He's playing a little too fast. He didn't see the trap over here. Yep. All right. Really good game to my student. Just played a little too fast. Let's look at the game review. I think we both played highly accurate chess. Not as accurate as I thought. It felt more accurate. It felt. So both our scores were not as good as I would have hoped. All right, let's review the game real fast while we're on live broadcast. E4, E5, knight F3, knight F6, Russian game. Key takes, and then you don't want to take back right away, although some people are starting to do this. Because, yeah, there's some new theory. I still play it the old way. Send the knight back, then take. He gets the center pawn, I get center pawn. He develops the bishop to d3. I develop bishop d3. He plays c4. I play c6. He plays knight c3. I play bishop f5. And it's saying it's an inaccuracy. I was trying to remember my theory, and I should have done that. Okay, well, I haven't played the Russian game in a while. I made a mistake in the opening. And apparently that's an opportunity to win a pawn through a fork? What? Didn't he just win the pawn? But, oh, queen b3 is the better way. Got it. Because you're threatening down here too. Boy, he could have really. All right, let me show moves. Oh, that's the wrong show moves, guys. Yeah. Hang on. Hide the moves. All right, let me go back a little bit here. Sometimes I get a little confused with the way chess.com analysis works. CX-D5 is best, yes. And then CX-D5 was a mistake. And then he takes, right? And then, yeah, queen b3, threatening. And then I take, he takes. Wow. Wow. This is a very long variation. Whoa. Usually when you say show moves to chess.com. But yeah, so that is why my move cxd5 is a mistake. Let's look at this. It's in the notes now. So cxd5 is a mistake because my student could have played, instead of that, he could have played queen b3, which is threatening this and that. And then, oops, hey, queen b3, and then I castle, and then queen takes d5, knight takes c3, queen takes f5, g6. This is very complicated. Queen h3, rook e8 check, bishop can block, knight comes back d5, then they castle, knight takes e3, f takes. Yeah, this looks good for white. Looks very good for white. So we learned something. It was very deep, but we learned, right? Important to learn. Knight takes, so he missed queen b3. That would have been a very killer move if optimum play afterwards, right? And now I get the fork, right? I get an exclaim. I get a fork. He goes back, and then I should have taken. I should have just taken. I wanted to develop and leave the opportunity. I made a mistake. Oh, well. I talked about it on broadcast. And then let me show moves why it's a mistake, because boom, boom, smack. Yeah, I talked about this idea. Ah! I was a little worried about some of this. Again, this is very complicated, right? It's more complicated than the usual correct variations on chess.com. Boy, these are some cool variations. All right. So what after queen a5, he blocked, and he should have used the other knight, and then that way I can't do this and play that very long variation, right? The knight takes c3, bx c3, queen takes c3, king e2, right? It's very, very long variation, very complicated, but worth noting. But so what did I do instead? I played knight c6. So he blocks with knight c3, and I develop, right? And I thought it's a pretty fun move because it's leaving this kind of tension on the board and developing another piece, adding more force to the mix. Bishop takes e4, bishop takes e4, we get stars, hooray! Queen e2, he should have just castled apparently. I castle, and remember, he can't take. He can't take, because then I pin. He castles, I take, he goes there, and now I was very tempted to play, what, knight takes d4 here. Right? But then I decided I didn't like it. I didn't like what. So I played queen b4, and it's saying it's a miss. You allow your opponent to kick your knight. I was okay with him kicking my knight because then my knight moves closer to the quadrant. See? Interesting. But let's show moves. All right, so I'm supposed to do that. This is what I calculated, and it only shows me 2. What? These other ones was showing me all this. This one only shows me 2. This is why I didn't play it. I didn't see that I had enough of a follow-up. I got rid of his center pawn, but now he's got 2 against 1 on the queen side. I have more force developed, but yeah. So I elected to not do that. I elected to play queen b4, and I thought it was really clever because then he goes here, and then I go there. And now my knight is getting close to the quadrant of the king, right? close to the king's quadrant. And then he plays what I thought was a really clever move here. Boom! Now, it's saying that it would have been better for his queen to go there, but I thought this was really good because I didn't want to trade queens with him. So I put the knight on c4. It says it's not the best move, but I thought, again, it's really clever. It avoids trading. And then he goes there. And then I attack his queen, right? Again, leaving fun stuff on the board and adding more force. This fun little discussion over here is left where it was, and then I add more force. Queen's got to go, and that was his mistake. And he played it fast. Let's see. Whoa. Yeah, here we go. He had 252 and then 140. So he used 1 minute. 1 minute. And this is what should I have played? It's saying that I messed up. Show moves. All right. Yeah. Okay. All right. I could have done it that. Oh. Oh. Okay. Yeah, I have to admit, then I didn't punish it the best way. I have to admit. No wonder my accuracy score wasn't as good as I had hoped. So queen d3. I should have played knight takes e3, f takes e3. Rook takes. Yeah, you gotta look at your checks, captures, and threats, because then after queen takes, then you can pin the queen to the king. Boom, smack, boom. And black's winning. Everybody knows black's winning. All right, so queen d3, but I do this. So I missed another deep opportunity. And then we're going to get into some hard stuff. I play b6. I could have played queen a5, but I'm like, you know what? If you want to take it, I want to have my 2 pawns versus your 1 pawn in the endgame. He takes it, I take. He moves the knight here, and this, you know, they give it a funny business, whatever, but he's figuring out a way to get it in here, right? And then I messed up. Here I go. Boom. I should have brought the knight. Yeah, I should have just done this, like they're saying. And I looked at it, but then I thought I could do this move first, then do this, and then do that. This is what I was thinking. But look what my student does. He stops it right away. And by scooting this pawn forward, I'd give myself a question mark on this move. They're just giving me the X, saying that I missed a better move. But I'm almost inclined to say it's a blunder because this pawn was guarding his knight's outpost. And when I scoot it forward, I created the weak square. And now his knight's on the outpost. And for the first time in this game, I thought I might be in a little bit of trouble. The computer's saying it's relatively equal. In fact, I'm actually winning by a little bit. But I hate that knight. It's scary. Take. And I was supposed to bring the bishop back. Okay. But I like my move to keep the file clogged. And then this was an important move. I win time by threatening the rook, and I'm also threatening the pawn twice now. And this is how I win some material. Now, I didn't expect this to happen. I have 2 passed pawns. It is on the king's side, and his king's over there. He's got a knight. Knights are good at blockading passed pawns. But I'm solid 2 pawns up. And then he starts coming at me. And I stop it. I said that I could play bishop f8, but I elected to play g6 because it stops it, and it gave me the potential for this, right? I said, you know, maybe that's what I want to do. There it goes back, and then kapow. And my opponent resigns because there's just nothing he could do other than block, checkmate. A very exciting game. Some very important, let me turn the analysis off because it's really running chess.com slow. A very exciting game. Some important variations, deep variations in Petrov's Defense. Wow, that was that was really something. You know, a good training opportunity. Again, there was an error classifying the move. Cool. I've never gotten that warning before. Um, it's very important for coaches to play with their students, occasionally at least. It's very, very important. Um, and This was very important in that he's got this big tournament, and I think he just didn't use the time well enough, right? So when he got to the resignation point, um, he had most of his time left. He'd only used like 25 minutes, right? We started with 75. Well, I guess 30 minutes, right? So basically, he played this like a G30 game instead of the longer time control. And that's something I'm going to have to talk to him about. Excellent game though. I'm really pleased with how much you're improving, anonymous student. And having said all that, my name is Chris Torres. This is Daily Chess Musings. I've been going for a while. I'm going to go ahead and shut down the stream. Go ahead, check out dailychessmusings.com. Go ahead, check out dailychessmusings.com and our chess club on chess.com, the Daily Chess Musings Chess Club. Google my name, Chris Torres Chess. Find me at tournaments in California. Find out, again, why I am so popular of a chess coach in California. And I will see you guys again soon.